What's going down, people? Welcome into the Main Event Sports Show, Main Event Sports Pregame Show live. The Cards and the Cats is going down. Rashawn Myers, Haven Harrington coming to you live from Casa de la Harrington. Haven, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Coming from Main Event Studios West, as we like to say.
Hey, you know what? This is a good place to watch it and have everything go down because, you know, we do get a little crazy when the pregame show is going down, man. So very excited to get things up and rolling and talk about these Cards versus Cats.
Man, this game has brought more, what's the word, like consternation, I guess, than like any previous like Louisville UK game, I think, in recent memory. And I think it's because that the first 4 games of the season, the Cards looked really, really good. They were playing together as a unit. Carlik Jones at the point was the perfect point guard to run Chris Mack's system. And you kind of see that everybody was getting in, everybody was scoring. Even with a limited roster that Louisville was playing with, they played very well together and they were doing very well together.
Hey, I don't think it's going out. It looks like it's just showing that.
But, wow, it's going to have some technical difficulties. Even on YouTube has a...
That's crazy. Well, we're live on YouTube. We're definitely live on YouTube. Maybe having some issues with our Facebook stream.
There you go. So, you know, and so back what I was saying. So, but now contrast that with the Cats beginning of the season. Looked like trash. They got blown out, or they were getting blown out by Notre Dame, which is predicted to be at the bottom of the ACC. They got beat by Richmond Spiders, and just kind of see just like Kentucky not playing well as a unit. They have all the measurables. They're tall, they're long, they're athletic, but they haven't put the pieces of the puzzle together. They're not playing well together, and it shows. Bad three-point shooting, suspect guard play, bad decisions, especially when the game starts to get tight. UK just can't get it together. Then COVID hits and kind of upsets the apple cart for everybody.
Well, it's very interesting. I think that what we've seen, not just with Kentucky, but with most of the teams, what you're looking at as you go around the country and look around the country is that the teams that are finding success this year, for most teams, veteran teams that have a lot of returning guys, or people that have been through it. The thing that's hurting Kentucky the most right now is just the fact that they're young. The fact that they have a bunch of guys who've either not been a part of the program or had not been, it was in high school last year. So, when you have so many young guys and so many new moving parts, this is a year where John Calipari's tactics and how he goes about things is really biting him in the behind because he doesn't have guys that just have so much overwhelming talent that they're just better than everybody else. And it just really seems to really be playing a key part in their really slow start. And that's tough because, COVID had everything shut down. Usually freshmen get to Kentucky in May, and they're pretty much together, installing the offense, installing the defense, really going at each other. But you remember with the shutdown, teams didn't really get back to start practicing until like late September. So, they really weren't able to, football, they allowed the football teams to practice, but because of the protocols, they didn't allow basketball teams to really start practicing until September. So you missed out on 4 months.
Which it's a lot when you got all freshmen.
Absolutely.
We got all freshmen. But, like I said, when COVID hit Louisville was kind of hitting its stride. Then COVID hits, they go dormant for 3 weeks. They didn't practice for like forever, almost like 2 weeks they didn't practice.
Right.
And then, you get guys back together at different times because, guys tested positive. So they had to sit out longer than the guys that were just do contact tracing. So you had guys come back on a team at different times and not really integrating themselves together because of their staggered starts. So then it's like Carlik Jones doesn't play until like after the Wisconsin game. And then he's winded and they're tired because they have been playing. And for the guys tested positive, don't know what type of elements they had, like were they shortness of breath, were they just sick, were they just fine? I mean, we really don't know. It hasn't been released. But you can tell some guys are still trying to get their wind back. They're still trying to get up to par. They're still trying to get up to snuff. And so you're seeing this gradual comeback, and now they meet.
Yeah, I mean, and this is going to be interesting because this is probably the most fragile that we've ever seen Kentucky in. You know, when I look back at all the U of L versus UK games, all the Dream games going way back to when things started back in '83, this is probably the first game where I could definitively say that one team can end another team's season in season. and you know, of course, Kentucky would still have an opportunity to go to SEC play and win the SEC tournament, but I don't know if that would necessarily be likely. I just don't know how many big wins are out there for UK, because right now the only team that's really playing great in the SEC is Tennessee. And Tennessee's a really good team. I don't know if Kentucky will be able to beat them. So if you don't get either one of those victories versus Tennessee, you lose to Louisville today. Kentucky's not going to have an opportunity for any signature wins outside of Tennessee. And if they are, 0-8 versus teams that have a pulse, and I mean, and really and truly, all the teams that beat Kentucky aren't great. Notre Dame has a losing record. Richmond has had some struggles since they beat Kentucky. I just don't know if they're going to have the resume, especially in a season where if they lose any games to COVID, they're one of the teams that haven't really been hurt by COVID.
Yeah, could be it. And we got some comments here coming in for YouTube. The game starts at 1 o'clock on ESPN. Cal had that moved to prime time so he can go against the NFL.
Yeah.
1 o'clock.
What? Cal said that they moved it to 1 o'clock on ESPN so they could make fun of him and send him to the gallows. That's what Cal said. You know, he said that ESPN is invested in watching the destruction of Kentucky, which I think is complete and total bullcrap. But, you know.
Hey, it is what it is. Rail, tuning in. Good to see you, Rail.
What's going on, Rail?
Man, Mark Bacon, what's going on? Happy Kwanzaa to you, Mark.
Main event DC.
There we go. And you're right. Keon Brooks may actually play. But would it matter?
No.
If he plays.
If Keon Brooks is playing his first game and he's playing it today, you sometimes have guys that come back fresh and they'll have that big bump. To me, all of this, and the same thing with Louisville, I've heard that Charles Minlin was shown in some photos practicing with the Louisville team that they think Charles Minlin could play today. A lot like we saw with Josh Nickelberry that played in the Pittsburgh game. I just don't think versus top flight competition, guys that are playing their first action of the year. I mean, we saw Josh go out. He hit 1-3 in the game. Showed some things on defense, but got lost a lot. It's really hard to come in versus good competition and come in and make a huge impact immediately.
Especially when you really haven't been practicing.
Keon Brooks was a 5.3 rebound dude last year, so it's not like they're getting Anthony Davis back. But Cal's desperate.
But y'all get experience.
Yes,
He gets by who plays. And in this game, especially the Kentucky-Louisville game, there's always that one guy for Kentucky that hadn't played all year that comes out and just balls out of his mind. Patrick Sparks, balled out of his mind.
Hawkins.
Dominic Hawkins hadn't played all year.
Josh Harrelson, Wukash Orbsu. I can go down the list
of guys that didn't play all year. They sucked all year and came out. Tyler Harrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Had not played well.
Had not played well all season long.
I mean, even last year, Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
Maxey had not been shooting the ball well. He shot the ball well versus Michigan State the first game of the year. Then went on an awful. I don't think he hit a three-pointer for like 3 or 4 games, and then comes out in the Louisville game, hits like 4 or 5 threes against Louisville.
It's just so crazy. So you just never know what happens in this game. Now, on the flip side for Louisville, you never really see like that guy come off the bench out of nowhere and go ham. It's always.
I mean, the only guy
like Louisville tends to just kind of stick to the program. Like what's been working for them, who the players, that's who shows up.
Louisville usually has the guys play that were playing well, play bad versus Kentucky. We saw last year Jordan Wara struggled horribly.
Oh, completely disappeared. He completely disappeared.
I mean, that seems to have been the case unless you got the experienced guys, because we've seen some guys like T. Will as a junior play very well against Kentucky. We saw Edgar Sosa as a senior play well against Kentucky. We've seen upperclassmen come into this game and really should play well. I think back to the Francisco Garcia, Taekwon Dean junior game where they went to Rupp and won. We've seen Louisville play well, but usually it's the experienced guys, and it's guys that had that mental and physical toughness. This would be a divergence from that, because you would have a guy in Carlik Jones who's new to the rivalry, coming in his first year and doing well, if he does in fact play well. Usually the guys that don't have the experience in the game that play well have always been on the Kentucky side. I mean, outside of, I can think of, Samaki Walker as a freshman having a triple-double against Kentucky. That's the one, outside of that, I can't think of many games where Louisville had a brand new guy. I mean, you had Marvin Stone, who, of course, played on the other side of the rivalry, left UK, came to Louisville, and played well. But usually Louisville has not had the brand new guys to come out and really show out. It's always been the people who have been through the wars, like a Quentin Snyder or something like that. Those are the guys that usually show up.
So it's going to be interesting. And let's talk about the conversation of the week has always been on Louisville's fans' expectations in this game. And a lot of Louisville fans already ready to give up the goat and say Louisville has no chance to beat the greatness that is the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, the fan consternation
because it's real
around this game. It's real.
I mean, it's real.
But you know what? Let's understand this. Okay, my take on this whole thing. All this is Rick Pitino's fault.
No.
It's all Rick Pitino's fault.
It's not.
And it absolutely is.
No, it's not.
Because Louisville fans...
It's not all Rick Pitino's fault. It's Tom Jordan's fault, too.
The reason why I'm going to say it's Rick Pitino's fault...
And Tom Jordan.
...is because...
both of them, together in unison. This was their idea. Before
Calipari, Louisville still didn't win more than they lost versus Kentucky. But Louisville fans always had that hope.
But it was also a much more competitive series, rivalry.
I think it was the Calipari factor. I think that Coach Pitino already didn't like the rivalry. And Calipari, when he came to Kentucky, really made it a point to throw the rivalry in Pitino's face. And he really made it personal. And it was never personal. Like Tubby Smith and Rick Pitino had a good working relationship. Tubby was a former assistant. Tubby is a good friend of Rick Pitino's.
But Rick could always beat Tubby as well.
And Rick could be competitive. But I think that because it was not a visceral rivalry, it wasn't a nasty rivalry, I think that Rick felt a lot more comfortable. Cal made it very uncomfortable for Rick. Cal came in and was like, this is my town, this is my team, I don't like you, I'm going to come out there and try to whoop your ass every time I see you.
And did it.
And that really made the rivalry something that Rick Pitino did not want. And I think that from that point on, once Calipari came over and took over, Rick started to hate the game. He didn't want to play the game. He over-prepared, overthought things. Like the Calipari injection into the rivalry really changed the way Rick Pitino prepared for it. And I just think that it really made him very uptight. And through this, 10 years that Cal's been at Kentucky now, it's made the Louisville fans, they've completely psyched themselves out.
Well, they completely psyched themselves out because Tom Jordan and Rick Pitino kept telling us from day one, year after year after year, they would feed it down our throats. This game doesn't matter. It's the conference games that matter. This is a tune-up game. It's just another game. Don't worry about it. The rivalry doesn't matter. And he said it over and over and over again. Now, from Rick Pitino's standpoint, I know exactly why he said it, because he's a UK fan. Yes, I said it. Rick Pitino is a UK fan, and he loves UK. Okay? I said it because it's true. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, let's be honest. He had a great run at Louisville.
Yeah.
But Kentucky, he had an otherworldly run at Kentucky. I mean, he arguably had the greatest college basketball team of all time at Kentucky. It's either him or the Running Rebels.
I mean,
to be honest, I mean, so
Pitino loved Kentucky.
He loved Kentucky, and he still loves Kentucky. But how could you not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first major program he coached at. He won a national championship. Should have won 2 if he stayed.
Yeah.
He had arguably the greatest, like I said, the greatest team of all time there. They loved him. They worshipped everything he did. He could do no wrong. How could he not love Kentucky? And then he goes to Louisville. So now he has to play Kentucky. And you can never have that hate in your heart because you have too much love in your heart for Kentucky. Same way he couldn't play Providence. We couldn't beat a weak-ass Providence team. Instead, we got rolled by 30 points by weak-ass Providence. Why? Because Rick just couldn't do it. He just loved Providence. Providence so much. And I get that.
Yep.
And I get that. Conversely, at the same time, you have Rick having his closet love affair with Kentucky and not really wanting to go hard against Kentucky. What made it worse is obvious. I mean, everybody knows Rick Pitino did not like Calipari. They don't like each other.
Yes.
So it had to be just a thumb in his eye when Cal gets to Kentucky and he can't beat Cal.
He threw him off his game.
Cal comes in there. He's bringing all these 5, 6. I mean, he brings 6-star guys. And 6-star guys don't even exist. He was bringing them in. You know, he brings in all this talent. I believe at that point, and some people disagree with me, but I believe until Cal got to Kentucky, Rick was cruising at U of L.
Yeah.
He wasn't recruiting that hard. You know, he was putting together middling teams. He would kind of coach them up there, do okay. We'll flame out the first, second round of the tournament, but he made the tournament, yay. And then we'll start over again, right?
Yeah.
Cal gets there, brings in John Wall and crew off the bat, and all of a sudden it's showtime in Lexington. And now, you know, Rick has to compete. So now you see Rick kind of rejig his coaching staff to bring in more recruiters. He's trying to bring in more talent, Telfair and everybody else, to compete with that juggernaut down the street. But the whole time he's trying to compete, Kentucky's whooping that ass.
Well, and the interesting thing about it is that what we saw from John Calipari from 2010 when he first came in with the Wall and Cousins crew is that we've seen Calipari get more and more bold in how he's approached the rivalry. We've started to see Kentucky starting with
the guys coming up the L's down.
The Marquise Teague recruitment, where it seemed as the years went along, starting with Teague, the attempt to try to take Shane Bohannon, is that we saw Kentucky start to not only recruit, but they started to recruit kids that Louisville was recruiting. They started actively trying to take Louisville kids. And we can go back to the recruitments of Anthony Davis. Louisville recruited Anthony Davis first. Marquise Teague, Louisville recruited him first. Trey Lyles, Louisville recruited him first. Shane Bohannon actually was Louisville was recruiting Shane first. Kentucky tried to step in at the last minute, grab him, but Shane stayed with his commitment to Louisville. But we've seen, even with this team this year, Lance Ware, freshman for Kentucky, Louisville was on him. Purvis Ellison, former Louisville player, was Ware's coach up in New Jersey. Okay, Purvis Ellison contacted Chris Mack about Lance Ware. Kentucky sees Louisville's recruiting Lance Ware. All of a sudden, Kentucky is just in love with Lance Ware and wants to bring him in. Same thing happened with Devin Askew. Kentucky was recruiting all these other guards, and all of a sudden, Louisville. There's news that Louisville may get a 5-star point guard reclassified. All of a sudden, Kentucky wants Devin Askew. And they're recruiting Askew. Same thing happened with the big guy that they have this year, Isaiah Jackson, out of Michigan. Louisville had been recruiting Isaiah Jackson for 2 years. And then Kentucky comes in the last 2 months and starts recruiting Isaiah Jackson. We saw Calipari not only want to dominate the rivalry on the court, he wanted to dominate the psyches of Louisville. And that's why I think this game is so interesting, because it really seems to me that Calipari's been a jackass when it comes to the Louisville-Kentucky rivalry. He has done that. So you know what?
No,
hold on. And I'm going to tell you why. Because coaches have always had there's been an unwritten peace between coaches. I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm going to do my thing. And I'm not going to, come crap on your porch if you don't come crap on mine. Well, Calipari came crapping all over Louisville's porch. And that's something that that respect, that program respect, went out the door with Calipari, okay? Because he had all the swag, he had all the 5-star recruits, and I feel personally that this year, because now the guys that Calipari stole from Louisville, I think he cut off the nose to spite his face, because as we can see, a lot of these guys aren't Kentucky caliber freshmen, and now you filled your roster with guys that Louisville was targeting, trying to thumb your nose at Louisville, and for the first time, it's coming back to bite you. Devin Askew is not ready for this level. He's a kid that should still be in high school. He reclassified. He's a very young reclass kid. He's 17 years old. He's not ready for this level, and to me, Kentucky is reaping what they sowed because of how much Calipari looked to thumb his nose at Louisville. It was a targeted thing.
I'm going to say this.
And you know what?
If Calipari thumbed his nose at Louisville, Because that's what you do in a rivalry.
It's fair. That's fair. But
because
you know what?
I'm going to tell you, because the football side of rivalry, nothing but hatred between the two schools.
Let me tell you something.
We go head to head for players in state all the time.
There's a saying, karma's a bitch. And this season, for Calipari, and this 1-5 start, is when you reap what you sow. Because when you do that, the scales always realign. The bottom line is we see great programs go up and go down. Alabama football was great, was terrible for a long time.
The Schuler days.
And now they're back. But you know what? It comes back. Karma's a bitch. And to me, personally, I think that now Kentucky's reaping what they sow. I'm
going to say this. Cal has every right to poach any player he can get off of U of L's roster he can possibly get. If we can't stop him, then it's our job to stop him. It's U of L's job to say, no, you can't take our kid. We're a better program, blah, 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 blah. But we haven't done that. Cal has owned the Louisville program.
But you know what's happened? 3 years ago, Worldwide West left. Last year, or coming into this year, Kenny Payne's left.
Now, Kenny's a big loss.
Worldwide West was a humongous loss because you've seen the elite kids going to the other schools since Worldwide. Kentucky had not gotten a top 5 kid until this year with Brandon Boston since Worldwide West left the program and stopped working for them and started working around the Knicks organization. Now Kenny Payne has joined the Knicks organization. And what we've seen is Kentucky's stranglehold on getting these elite recruits erode over the last 5 years. And Kentucky's flailing, okay? They still have we're Kentucky, and look at the guys we've gotten there, but you have kids like Cade Cunningham going to Oklahoma State. You have some of these elite recruits going to other places consistently, and we've seen Kentucky's competition level and competitiveness level go down. Let's not forget, Kentucky wanted Aiden Gahan, and Louisville fans, have been critical on Aiden and talked about that, but Kentucky couldn't recruit Aiden. Okay, the guy Oscar Shibway from West Virginia, the sophomore, Kentucky wanted him badly. Like Oscar and Aiden were Kentucky's top 2 guys. We see how good those guys. Now Shibway is very good for West Virginia. Aiden's not really ready for prime time, but those are 2 guys that Kentucky whiffed on. This is where Kentucky is right now.
That's where Kentucky is right now. But we all know, if it wasn't for COVID and he had his full 4 months to coach these guys up, we all know how Cal does every year. He takes a group of ragtag. It's almost like some war movie, a group of like the A-Team, a group of ragtag soldiers, misfits that don't really fit together. And by March, he puts together a decent little run because he kind of gets them to play.
I think the biggest difference this year and what we're seeing...
It's been those 4 months, man.
It's not only the 4 months. Because of his continual need with the one-and-done system to recruit over the guys that are there to bring in a whole new class every year, it's starting to hurt him because, A, he's not getting as good players, but now guys, are going pro anyway, or guys are transferring anyway. We see guys like Jamal Baker, who transfers to Arizona. He's averaging, 15, 16 points a game for Arizona.
Well, actually,
that experience is killing him.
That was about to get my second thing is that the problem, I think the real problem Kentucky's having now is when Kentucky won their national championship, it's because they had, you had some super talented dudes there that were freshmen and Anthony Davis, but really got that team over the top when they would get stuck in points was Patterson and those guys that have been there for a while. Kentucky's issue to have it now is because everybody thinks Kentucky's is one and done, as you said before. Mm-hmm. Guys who aren't ready are trying to go to the league anyway because Cal has gotten Kyle Orton in the first round draft pick. So everybody's like, well, he didn't get Kyle Orton drafted in the first round. I could be a bum. Like Scalabassi, he was like a suspect at Kentucky. He was kind of suspect, but he still got drafted. Yeah. So they're like, if we can get these morons, I shouldn't say that. If we can get these dudes, drafted, then I could be like a middling dude as long as I got measurables.
But the problem is that he's not recruiting at the same level because if you look at those guys that were holdovers, Deron Lamb, NBA dude, what's the other guy that was on the championship team? He was an NBA kid. The guys that are holding over now are not as good. Okay, these aren't NBA players that are holding over to their second or their third season. And I think the fact that the recruiting has eroded over the last several years, we're starting to see those chinks in the armor. Kentucky was not a great team last year. They were okay. They were good when Tyrese Maxey was good, for the most part. But we've seen over these last several years, Kentucky's chinks in the armor start to be very apparent. And now with the turnover of the roster, the fact that these freshmen aren't as good as what classically has been there, on top of the COVID shutdown, you have 1 in 5 Kentucky.
So I want to agree with your man Tim Hinkle, who just chimed in on Facebook saying, why is that a problem? I'm going to poo on my rival every chance I get, and that's how you should be in a rivalry game.
I agree with that, but when you are...
That's exactly what you do in a rivalry game.
I'm okay with that, but I feel like that hubris is biting him in the ass.
Do you think...
No, because he's recruiting kids that, A, don't fit his system, and B, aren't good enough for Kentucky. So I'm okay with that, but when you're doing it to the point of, I'm just going to go recruit all the guys that Louisville's recruiting, like, to me, when you're more than half of your class are kids that Louisville was recruiting, and you're just taking them from Louisville because Louisville was close to closing on those guys.
Or maybe it's taking those guys. That's what he can get. Maybe because the top guy's now going to Duke.
I disagree. I personally think this
Oklahoma or Kansas.
I think this year he went overboard in trying to stick it to Louisville, and it's coming back to bite him. I think there were other kids out there that they could have targeted that were probably better, but I think that his hubris of wanting to go out there and stick it to Louisville while also taking good players has come back to bite him.
Yeah.
And that's just my personal opinion.
We have a comment from YouTube here from Cardinal Red Does It All. And he says, 1 in 5 start. 1 national championship in 10 years. Rick Pitino was right. This game is overhyped every year. ACC is the best conference in the NCAA, but we blow this game up every year. Because we should blow this game up every year. It's a rivalry game.
The greatest game in college basketball.
This is what happens. And if it's a rivalry game, you're supposed to blow it up every year.
And Chris Mack understands it. Like let's understand that this is a new year. Okay, Chris Mack in the first 2 years of this rivalry, I've been very happy with how he coached. Okay, he doesn't coach scared. He didn't have the talent to win that first year. Kentucky with Hero, P.J. Washington. They had enough talent, especially because Tyler Hero went half man, half amazing in that game. Really helped push that team over the top. Now, last year, Louisville was playing on the road. That was the first time where I think Louisville and Kentucky had similar talent, okay? I didn't think it was overriding talent one way or the other. Yes, Kentucky did have a couple guys taken in the first round where Louisville had, Jordan Ward that ended up as a second-round guy. But the talent was comparable. Like, there wasn't a huge gap, okay? And what we saw in that was Louisville went on the road in a place in Rupp where Louisville has classically gotten just destroyed most of the time. And Louisville got the game to overtime. And if they hit their free throws, they would have won the game, period. But I thought that Matt, once again, coached a great game, and the team was not scared.
Well, that's the big thing. He didn't coach the team scared, which is what Rick Pitino has done for 10-plus years, was coached his team scared when they played Kentucky. So now, fast forward to today. And here we go. Oh, we got another comment. We had 2 cracks on our rival like Duke and UNC does. Yeah, I wish we had 2 cracks Kentucky as well. It would be nice to play Kentucky twice a year.
That'd be nice. You can always come to the ACC if you want to. I'd love it.
They would never do that. They would never do that because you know how much money they would give up in football to come to the ACC.
Hey, I'm just saying, if they really wanted to settle it, come to the ACC, and we'll see how you do it.
But I'm going to say this. This is the first year in a long time where I feel very hopeful that Louisville's going to win the game.
This is the first time to me.
This is the first time I've never felt this positive about Louisville beating Kentucky at any time underneath Rick Pitino.
Louisville has the better team, and I think that Louisville has the best 2 players on the court. Okay, Kentucky has some kids that have potential. B.J. Boston, people have been upset with how he played, but I can understand why the kid was so highly rated. 6'7", long arm, 7'2" wingspan, super athletic, nice one-on-one player, but inconsistent. He's young. Okay, Kentucky still has the talent advantage. They got more length. They got more size. They got more kids that may play at the next level. But Louisville has the better team and the best 2 players in David Johnson and Carly Jones right now.
I would say they have the best player Carlik Jones.
Oh, I think David Johnson and Carlik Jones are both better than anything Kentucky puts out there.
I'm saying, but just the best player, number one.
Yes.
Carlik, because he's the guy that drives the bus.
Yes.
Lewis is a completely different team when he's running point.
Yes. I mean, Carlik Jones has been as good as advertised. He was the only player in college basketball last year to average 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And he's come out for Louisville this year averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. His numbers have held up pretty well, translating from at Radford to Louisville. He's been great. Now, he was a guy who, got hit with the COVID element. And, you talked about it earlier, how I think that, people want to talk about the Wisconsin game where, of course, Carlik was not available. And then you look at the Pittsburgh game where Carlik came back, but he wasn't as good as he had been. The COVID really threw him off, and especially in terms of their conditioning. He had only been practicing about 2 days after being out of there for pretty much 14, 15 days.
That's a killer.
It's a killer. And I think that Louisville fans that have this trepidation about the game because Louisville didn't look great versus Pittsburgh, you got to understand that 3 guys that all look bad, all were suffering through this thing. Jalen Withers, was suffering. He had not been practicing. That's something that didn't get brought up prior to the Wisconsin game, is that Jalen Withers had really not practiced at all before. I think it was his first day or two that he could actually be back and active. And because they were already short-handed, Withers had to play. Withers has been dealing with that. DeAndre Davis also was a guy who was dealing with that. He had not been practicing. And then, of course, we talked about Carlik.
He didn't play at all.
Those are 3 starters, okay? So when you look at how badly Louisville played, understand that those guys, 2 of the 3 of those guys, had just gotten back to being able to play on the road at Wisconsin, a team that just went out there and wasted Michigan State for that game on the road up in the Kiel Center where Wisconsin never loses. So that has a lot to do with it when you're talking about 3 starters, one of them being out and the 2 being freshmen that just got back, okay? And then fast forward to the Pittsburgh game. Yeah, Pittsburgh came out. They didn't have a couple of guys playing. Louisville had some guys that were still dealing with conditioning issues. Carlik just being back. But you know what? Louisville got a road win in the ACC by 10 points.
Well, to me, the first thing, what you saw in the first 10 minutes of that game where Louisville jumps out to that 15-point lead that was the way Louisville was playing before COVID hit.
Yes.
And then fatigue kind of sat in on those guys.
Absolutely.
And they couldn't keep that level of play up. So that's why you kind of saw them struggle in the second half and just kind of hold on to win.
Yes.
Is they were just tired. That they hadn't played. Like that's Nickelberry's first game.
Well, I mean,
and his legs weren't there.
Really and truthfully, I mean, Josh Nickelberry playing in that game to be able to spell Carlik Jones and give him rest may have helped Louisville to keep from getting upset in that game, because at least with Nickelberry there's a body. You can sit Carlik Jones and give him a break. You can sit David Johnson down and give him a break.
And he needed that break.
Absolutely.
Because he was winded. He was just tired.
Yes.
So now you have a couple more days of practice, of conditioning. You should see a different Louisville team against Kentucky. My guess is you're going to see them close, not quite as efficient as they were at the beginning of the season when everybody was healthy, ready to go. But I think you're going to see a Louisville team pretty close to that, and I think that's going to be enough to beat Kentucky.
It's one of those things where we always talk about it, Haven. One of the things we talk about, college basketball is a guards game. NBA basketball for the most part is a guards game now. It's all about what you have as far as your perimeter ball handling, and this is the best set of guards that Kentucky will have faced all year. North Carolina's guards aren't great. Kansas, for as good as they are, guards are not great. They're still struggling to find their ball handling and go-to guys in the clutch. Louisville's combination of David Johnson and Carlik Jones are the best duo that Kentucky will have seen up to this point, and it's their second true road game. What happened in their first true road game? They went on the road down to Georgia Tech, got beat by 20 to Georgia Tech.
A not very good Georgia Tech team.
To Georgia Tech. So I say all that to say Kentucky is going to get better, okay, because they have talent. But the problem is on the road in this environment versus a team that's no longer going to be scared. They're no longer going to have a coach that's hyperventilating, overthinking, having his team completely psyched out going into the game. I don't think this is a game where Kentucky gets healthy. I think it'll be a good game because we saw Kentucky play very well against North Carolina for the whole first half. It was nip and tuck. It was back and forth. But once again, Carolina's a team that with Caleb Love, Leaky Black, and those guys, they don't really have, their guards are struggling right now. They have a great amount of interior talent, and that interior talent and that power in the paint ultimately got them the win. But once again, this is the first time that that Kentucky's going to see elite guards. And how those guys perform in those matchups. I mean, to me personally, I think this comes down to the matchup of Devin Askew, Carlik Jones. And I think that Jones, as a veteran guy, is going to kill in that matchup. And I think between that matchup and the Terrence Clark and David Johnson matchup, those are going to be the two matchups. I can definitely see Clark and Johnson kind of canceling each other out. Like, Kentucky cannot have Carlik Jones win huge at the point guard spot and David Johnson win huge at the two guard spot. They need Terrence Clark to nullify David Johnson, because if Jones and Johnson both get off, I don't see a path to victory.
Well, no, that's kind of what my man Derek Gibson on YouTube is telling us. He says, this is David Johnson. Show us what you got.
Hey,
this is it.
Hey, I mean, really and truly, like this is when you get to show your wares. Kentucky's going to go out. You're not going to see a lot of zone. I don't think Calipari hates the zone. You're not going to see a team that plays very good and intelligent, smart help defense like you saw with Wisconsin and Pittsburgh. Kentucky's a team that allows their athletes to go out there, play one-on-one, and just try to lock your man down.
Yeah.
So David Johnson's going to get opportunities going to the basket. He's going to get opportunities to take his man off the dribble and either finish or make a pass to somebody. So we're going to have to see if Kentucky has gotten better on that end as far as their help and recovery game. But what is going to be the key? And one of the issues that happened with Pittsburgh, because guys got tired early in the game when they got out to the 15-point bulge, it was because not only did you have Johnson and Jones attacking off top, you had guys moving off the ball, setting screens, getting the off-ball movement, away from ball movement is how you get easy shots. What happened was in that game versus Pittsburgh, Louisville started to get tired, and those guys quit moving off the ball. Bob Valvano talked about it in the postgame show, is that, that away from the ball movement, the setting the screens, guys staying active away from the ball so the point guards have, options and opportunities to get guys the ball. That stopped happening. And I think conditioning had a lot to do with it. So, if you're Louisville, you want to keep doing what you were doing the first 5 to 10 minutes of Pittsburgh. And if you can do that for a whole game, you got to love your chances.
There you go. We got some more comments coming in on YouTube. Hey, all you guys watch us on YouTube, subscribe.
Absolutely.
Like. And we'll come with the post-game show later. So, hey, pay attention. After this, post-game show is coming. We'll wrap everything up for you. YouTube, Facebook Live, we got you.
Break it down to the primary compound, as they say.
So here it is. My man Nathan said, heard opinions saying Kentucky has taller players, but talent outweighs length. And, a lot of that's true.
Well,
Kentucky's taller the longest, but they don't have the experience. It's like that joke about they say about the old man at the Y always gets you. The old guy who dressed like Kurt Rambis from the old Lakers with all the knee pads and the elbow pads and the goggles and some sweatbands and stuff. Because he's been playing forever. So he knows all those old man moves. Like, you may be younger. You may be the young hotshot. He knows how to put that elbow in your back. Hit you real good, that elbow in the back, and move you out the way. You're not ready for it. You always can get the rebound. See, that's what Louisville can do to Kentucky, because we have the experience. We have guys that's been there. You have guys that's done it. They know what it's like. They've been through the wars. So once you get that experience going, it makes a big difference, especially this early in the season.
Well, listen, and this is the thing. If Kentucky's going to be in the game at all, they've got to be able to utilize Isaiah Jackson on the inside. They've got to utilize Olivier Sarr on the inside. Like, that's where they do have a clear advantage. With Sarr, with Jackson, with Lance Ware, they have guys that have height. They have guys that have length. Kentucky with Withers in there at 6'8". They are backing them up with a couple of bigger guys in with Snitzer and Gahan. But there's a clear talent, length, and athleticism advantage that Kentucky's going to have down low. They've got to dominate that. Like, to me, for the game to even be close, like, if Louisville's able to go out there and even stay even on the backboards with Kentucky, it's going to be a blowout. Like, Kentucky, I expect Kentucky's going to get shots up there, get offensive rebound, putbacks. Like, I think that's going to be the Kentucky offense for the most part, because I just don't think that Mintz,
with a three-game hasn't been
I don't think
all season.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be their offense. So Louisville fans, if Louisville's giving up a bunch of offensive rebound putbacks, like, that's literally going to be a lot of the Kentucky offense. So, that's to be expected. But, what you want as a Louisville fan is to just not get murdered. Like, if you're getting beat on the boards, get beat on the boards by 7, 8 rebounds, not 15 to 20 rebounds.
And don't fall in love with the three-point shot.
Yes.
Louisville cannot fall in love with the three. Louisville's best offense has always been when they work the ball, when they attack, kick out, and get a nice mid-range, easy jumper. That's how Louisville racks with their point. This isn't the greatest three-point shooting team there is, but they don't have to be because they're efficient and they're a smart team. Do what you do best. Play within yourself. Louisville should win by 10. I'm calling it right now.
All right, I was going to say we got about 5 minutes before the tip-off of the game. So we got a couple more comments.
I'll come from you to my man Nathan. Apparently, he must be the old man to why because he has that lower the hips rebound.
Hey, you gotta use that backside. That's what I was talking about. Ellis Miles had a great backside.
And he also says that Louisville's best opportunity to shoot lights out.
Absolutely. I mean, this is going to be the thing.
Drive, kick, somebody should be open.
The backside, the back end. Okay, when you're talking about dribble penetration by David Johnson and Carly, Kentucky does not defend the backside at all. If you swing that ball opposite off the penetration, there's going to be wide open opportunities for DeAndre Davis, like he had against Pittsburgh, where he went 0 for 6 or 0 for 7. Davis didn't shoot well. He needs to knock down those wide open shots. The same for Quinn Slazinski. He's going to have wide open shots. And I think Josh Nickelberry is going to get some opportunities as well. But no, I agree with you. There's going to be wide open opportunities for those three guys. They've got to find a way to knock down those shots because they're going to be there. So, you want to see Louisville shoot better from the three. Let's not go, 0 for 15 or something ridiculous like that. Let's not shoot under 50% from the free throw line. As long as Louisville plays within their normal percentages, Louisville wins the game. Just be normal. Okay, shoot 70% from the free throw line, shoot 35% from three. And if you do that and handle your business, Louisville's going to win this game, and Kentucky's going to fold like a cheap suit in the second half, as they have all year. But like I said, we got about 3 or 4 minutes left, Haven. Give me what's going to happen today.
Nathan Sims has the Cardinals, 67-59. I'm going with Nathan.
Okay, 67-59. Who's playing the game?
Carly Jones, man. I mean, he's the engine.
I like it. You know what? I think that David Johnson has been waiting for this game. I think that David Johnson needs to have a good game. I think he wants to have a good game. I think the fact that David Johnson played less than 1 minute last game. Let's not forget, Louisville almost beat Kentucky, and for whatever reason, Mack didn't play David Johnson in that game, which I thought was a huge mistake. I think David Johnson has been waiting for this. I think because of the way Kentucky plays defensively, he's going to have opportunities. He's going to have a matchup in Terrence Clark where I think he'll be able to use his experience to get some things going. I think David Johnson is the MVP of the game. The Louisville boy winning it for Louisville. Y'all know it's a big game because your boy has on. You know what time it is. Cardinals get the win with the Dons on today.
But I'm going to say this.
Give me Louisville 67-60.
If Louisville has a chance to put the screws to Kentucky, don't let up. Don't hesitate.
Yes.
Louisville fans need to see a blowout victory, I think, more than anything else for a Louisville fan psyche. And would actually put, I think, Mack up on a completely different level when it comes to Louisville coaches.
Absolutely. And you know what, Calipari? Just remember, you reap what you sow. And you know what? It's all coming back to haunt you right now. So enjoy this ass whooping you back.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I was like most Louisville fans. We still got like 2 minutes to go. I was like most Louisville fans. And I was prepared to say, my gut says Kentucky's going to win just because they just always find a way to beat us.
Yes.
It's just, even we have better teams or we have light talent, it doesn't matter. They always find a way. Like, this team has not shot threes well all year long. I would not be surprised.
Oh, Dante Allen. Dante Allen's going to come off the bench for Kentucky.
I would not be surprised.
He's going to knock down shots today. That's going to happen. There's still going to be, look, this is a rivalry game. So that's why I said 67-60. It's not going to be a blowout, okay? It's going to be a competitive game. Kentucky's going to play a great first half. Kentucky may be winning at the end of the first half. I can completely see that happening. But what I think is going to happen is what has happened to UK all year outside the Notre Dame game. I think Kentucky is going to fold in the second half. I think that once Mack and crew sees what Kentucky's doing, they'll make some adjustments at halftime, and I think that Louisville is going to control the last 10 minutes of the game.
And for all those who want to know where to watch the game, after the live stream, I'm going to put it into the chat. But ESPN, 1 o'clock. Prime time, baby.
Hey, it's going down. It's about to get
ESPN
started.
in about 1 minute. So all those who have ESPN or ESPN app, log in, watch the game. It's going to be on there.
Hey, and remember, like we like to say every time,
without any struggle,
there is no progress.
And stay tuned for the post-game show.
Peace.
Peace. Like and subscribe. Now I can say peace.